This is Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, the viewer's guide to genre television for the weeks of February 1st to February 14th, 2025. Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Brent Barrett.
I'm Kevin Batchelder.
And I'm Wendy Hembrock.
And we're back. We've got the poll for the best genre shows of 2024. It's done. It's over. We've completed it on our Discord. And we're going to talk about the results in the water cooler, so stay tuned. And by the way, join our Discord. We have a link to it. It's free and everything, and the software's free, and that's where we ran that poll, and you can take part in that and even discuss the results if you want.
Yeah, that was part of the fun as it was going on, was being able to chat with some of the folks at different voting points. But looking forward to talking about results later.
Yeah, and I bet there's going to be people that have opinions. So come on by our Discord and share them.
Yeah, please. We'd love to talk about it. All right, let's move on over. Someday my mouth will work. To our spoiler-free water cooler.
So, you're still hanging on to that tiny thread of denial, trying to convince yourself that sci-fi has nothing whatsoever to do with your life. Well, you better think again, Sparky. That tiny cell phone has no basis in Starfleet communicators. Those hands-free earpieces now used by virtually everybody didn't come down from the ear of Lieutenant Uhura. And that cute little Rumba vacuum cleaner that you use far too infrequently wasn't hijacked off an Imperial Star Cruiser. Nah, not a chance. Because if it were true, then you would be forced to turn on that Flash Gordon-inspired box on your desk called a computer and listen to SliceOfSci-Fi.com, the podcast and XM satellite radio show that will turn your sci-fi into reality.
First up on the water cooler, we have quick reviews for shows that were on over the last couple of weeks from February 1st to February 14th. We give them ratings. We say, watch it now, watch it soon, let it sit, or you can skip it. Those kind of translate, for people who don't know, to like a 1 to 10 sort of rating. You know, if it's a high watch it now, it's like a 10, you know, just kind of figure it out over the scale. It's pretty cool. I think we're going to start with Ghosts. We had 2 episodes. Episode 11 of season 4, Therapy 2, Abandonment Issues. And I'm going to give this one a high watch it soon. And we also had episode 12 of season 4, It's the End of the World as We Know It. And what were we talking about? And I'm going to give that one just a watch it soon.
Yeah, I'll actually flip from you. I'll go watch it soon and high watch it soon.
And I'm going to give them both a high watch it soon. I enjoyed them both.
Yeah, Ghost is always fun. And we also have Harley Quinn, more Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy on the animated stuff on HBO Max, or Max as they call it now. Episode 4 of season 5, Breaking Brainiac, and episode 5 of season 5, Big Pasta Dinner. I would give the first one a watch it soon, and the second one I'd give a low watch it now.
I'm not watching yet.
Yeah, I would definitely give Breaking Brainiac a watch it soon, and the most recent, I would give it just a regular watch it now.
Awesome. All right. We also have a return of another animated show that Kevin isn't watching, Invincible. We have season 3, episode 1, You're Not Laughing Now. Episode 2 of season 3, A Deal with the Devil. Episode 3, You Want a Real Costume, Right? And episode 4, You Were My Hero. And I would give the first a watch it soon, then a watch it soon high and watch it soon, then another high and watch it soon. And finally, the 4th episode, I'd say watch it now.
And you were correct. I'm not watching.
I'm not watching either.
Okay, moving on to the show Paradise that Kevin was talking about last episode. We've got episode 4 of season 1, Agent Billy Pace. Episode 5 of season 1, In the Palaces of Crowned Kings. And I am not currently watching.
Yeah, for these ones, I'll go watch it soon and then a low watch it soon.
Interesting. I did a catch up. So I basically watched the last 5 episodes kind of as almost one long movie. Episode 4, I would actually give a high watch it soon. And the most recent one, very high watch it soon.
Excellent. All right. And we have School Spirits, which is a show I really meant to catch up on, but completely slipped my mind. We have episode 4 of season 2, A Walk-In to Remember, and episode 5 of season 2, Ghost, Who's Coming to Dinner. And like I said, I have not seen them yet, but I do want to watch them.
Yeah, I'm not currently watching.
Yeah, I have seen these, and I would give them both a high. Watch it soon.
Awesome. All right. Now we've got some articles and news items we think you might be interested in. First up, Kevin's got some news about the Wheel of Time.
Yes, very much. If you have not heard, folks, we had just a couple of days ago the release of the Wheel of Time Season 3 official trailer from Prime Video. The show is returning in mid-March. I'll talk a little bit about my rewatch of it later in the show. But yeah, we got a nice 2.5-minute trailer, as we said, official one. Lots of, shall we say, epic things are now happening. For those of you that are aware, with a high fantasy show like this, lots of character setups and plot items certainly happening in the early seasons, but there's going to be some big, you-know-what, hitting the fan come season 3. So this looked great to me.
Yeah, this was pretty jam-packed. A lot of action. It does look like there's going to be some real conflict, coming to a head and getting maybe some resolution, which looked exciting. Got all the main characters back, which I always kind of check to see and make sure some of my favorites are there, and it looks like it. So definitely this is a show I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I've had fun watching this because it reminded me this is the other fantasy show on Amazon Prime that I really do like. And yeah, I got to agree with both of you that that it looks exciting. This show has not been too boring for me. I love pacing, but I recall that the first 2 seasons were not too slow, so I really enjoyed them. Looks fast too, but it also looks like it could be slow again. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes, but I'm sure I'll enjoy it. I'm sure I'll watch it.
Yeah, and I think it's got a lot of other folks very interested too. I mean, this trailer's been out as the time we record this for 4 days, and it's just about to hit 1 million views.
Hopefully this was not the so-called sizzle reel for the whole season.
How many times do we talk about that with trailers? They put all the good stuff into 2 minutes.
All right. Well, the other fantasy show that I love on Amazon Prime is Rings of Power, and Wendy's got news.
Yes, Rings of Power has also got some exciting news. It's been renewed for season 3. No plot spoilers, but a clue in that we're going to have a multi-year time jump going into the 3rd season. And no more details about that, but it's several years after the end of season 2, so it's described as the height of the war between the elves and Sauron. So that should be interesting to see how that plays out in terms of maybe the key initiatives or focuses that are going on within that space. And also the Amazon MGM studio head said that there's a long-term investment in the Lord of the Rings franchise. So, they need a large audience to make sure that people are not worrying from season to season about whether or not the show is going to go forward. So far, it has had a sufficiently large audience, but maybe if you haven't jumped on the train yet, now might be a good time to do so. If you're even a casual fan of the Lord of the Rings, the original films, to check it out, because it's pretty good. I really have enjoyed it a lot.
Or even if you didn't watch the films and you read the books and you love them. Yeah, I'll be watching it for sure. Maybe in this new season, since we have a multi-year jump, maybe we'll get Gandalf being actual young Gandalf and not just stranger who doesn't know what he is and what his powers are. That'd be great.
Yeah, I'm very curious with that multi-year jump. That's a great example, Brent. And there's been some other relationships established. I mean, what's that going to kind of do? Is that going to maybe help to set things in a spot that a lot of us are familiar with? Because that was part of the enjoyment. Certainly the first 2 seasons was a little bit of everybody's figuring out who they are and what their relationships are going to be. So I'm very glad it's coming back, and very interested in seeing what that means for what we get in season 3.
Excellent. All right, now continuing on the fantasy theme, but jumping networks or jumping streamers, I'm going over to Netflix to talk about a new Dungeons and Dragons live-action series that's in development. This is being headed up by Sean Levy, who's been working on things like Stranger Things and Deadpool and Wolverine. A couple of little shows that a few people have seen, little movies. But it originally was going to be a Paramount Plus project, but that kind of fell through, and there was a transfer of ownership of the studio behind it. So they've moved on to Netflix. They feel Netflix is a really logical home for it, considering that one of Netflix's bigger shows, Stranger Things, really pushed Dungeons and Dragons back into kind of the mainstream with that show. So other than it being in the same game universe, this one apparently, this particular series that they're working on isn't going to really be connected to the Honor Among Thieves movie that came out a couple of years ago, even though a lot of the same people, well, not producers, but the same, obviously, game company that owns D&D was behind it. The one with Chris Pine in it. If the series is successful, they believe it could start a D&D TV and movie franchise, or universe, I should say, whatever they want to call it. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I mean, D&D has a special place in my heart. I'm a fantasy role-playing gamer from a long time ago, and still enjoy the genre. So looking forward to that. I hope they do a good job with it.
Yeah, I'm surprised how interested I am in this news. Because as you kind of laid out there, I mean, this is certainly a universe where, if done right, you could go in so many directions. Netflix has got the money to put behind it, from the special effects and the visuals. And you get some folks who know how to write, and you get some interesting characters that are part of this. And this is just a wealth of possibilities. So I'm kind of glad it's Netflix and not Paramount Plus. I don't know. Just for some reason, that seems like the place it should work. So the fact that they're talking it up at this point, it's development time still, but with the pedigree of Levy behind it, I'm very interested in where this might go.
Yeah, Netflix feels like a better place than Paramount Plus, just because, I don't know, they seem to, no pun intended, roll the dice a little bit more on concepts for shows, and I would hope, with probably a more international audience, they go with some interesting concepts as part of the show. I was definitely not a big D&D player, but I'll wait till the trailers. I might become very interested in this, depending on what the approach is.
Roll the dice. I love it. I hope that if they do expand into a universe, that they do my favorite thing that I've been wishing for every universe, which is an anthology series. D&D could have a great run with an anthology series. Marvel finally did it with What If. I'm still waiting for Star Trek's anthology series, but they do have the short treks, I guess, which kind of are anthology. But looking forward to it.
Yeah, D&D does seem like a good place for anthology, too.
Yeah, you don't need to know much about these characters, just, experience an adventure with them. All right, and kind of going, still in fantasy, going urban fantasy, Kevin's got some news about Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, and this definitely is in the big news category, at least for me and many others. If you've been paying attention for a while, if you're even a casual Buffy fan, you know that there have been a couple of times in the last few years where they've talked about reboots and reimaginings and all these other possibilities. They've had some names attached. There have been some stories about things, but they've never really gone anywhere yet. But this was pretty exciting to see that they are now very much moving towards having what's being classified as a sequel, because we have none other than Sarah Michelle Gellar returning to play Buffy in this sequel. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Now it's not there yet. The information's been put out in all the articles and all the places is that it's, doing my air quotes here, folk, nearing a pilot order at Hulu. But you've got some well-known names from the writing and directing side, as well as several of the original producers as well being involved again, and Sarah being a producer this time around as well. Joss Whedon is nowhere near this after all of the issues he had in the past, so he won't be involved. But, this one, not only with the articles and the trades and the folks talking about it, but actually you have Sarah Michelle Gellar taking to social media to post that, yes, there have been discussions for years, but this is the time she actually thinks, based on the people involved, in what she's hearing that it's got a chance to be in the same quality level of what we got before. She's not going to be the star. I guess we're all imagining she'll be some type of mentor. Some folks wondering about being the watcher or not. I don't know. But the fact that she's being attached to it and it's got some very well-known names, this could be real.
Yeah, this was exciting because of some of those names. Obviously, Sarah Gellar. But also that it's Gail Berman, it's Fran Kuz. I don't know how you say the last name. Kuzui. The Kuzuis are involved as executive producers. I had no idea Dolly Parton was one of the original executive producers of Buffy, but is more visibly one of the producers included. The thing that was really interesting to me was this article where Sarah Gellar was talking about how participating in the Dexter offshoots influenced her view of what could be possible for a sequel. And I've been watching the prequel to Dexter that's on right now, in which she plays a main character, and they've done a very good job with what I've seen, which is only one episode. But there is another Dexter sequel coming as well. So I'm delighted that she is on board with more Buffy that hopefully, feels true to the original, but is something new.
Yeah, I got worried when I first saw this. Kevin passed along a headline that said reboot. I'm like, Buffy reboot? No. Why? And then finally, of course, it became clear that it's a continuation of the universe. So I'm really excited about that. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of people have read the comics that continued it. I haven't read every one of them, but I read a bunch. I bought them for a while. So there's a lot of story that they played with afterwards. And of course, the question is how much of that is going to be canon or not? Or are they going to just continue from the comic story, or are they going to do something else? But I'm excited to see where they go with this universe. I mean, considering that Willow cast that spell and all of those potentials that were alive at the time became Slayers, there's a lot of superpowered people out there. So I'm sure some of them have gone a little bad. So maybe they'll have to fight some bad Slayers too. So it's going to be fun to see.
Yeah, and how the Slayer power works. Like, if all those Slayers had offspring, which they could have by now, do they have powers too, or how did it work?
Yeah, and what kind of info they're going to drop on us. I mean, again, hopefully we get word that it isn't officially ordered, and maybe some additional info of plot or other characters from the original show. Some of the actors have been very vocal about, being interested in coming back. So a ton of possibilities. It's going to take a little while, I think, for this to play out, but it hopefully is going to be fun to keep up on it.
Okay, to talk about not just fantasy, but also science fiction and horror, Wendy's got the winners from the 52nd Annual Saturn Awards.
Yes, we'll have a link in the show notes to the full list, which includes movies, but I'm just going to talk about television and also the special awards that they gave out. William Shatner received a Lifetime Achievement Award, and Lawrence Fishburne got the Lance Reddick Legacy Award, and Fallout got a Spotlight Award, which are considered special awards. In television, though, the top three, Best Sci-Fi was Fallout, Best Fantasy was House of the Dragon, and Best Horror was From, which is a show many people have recommended to me. Best Superhero Show was Agatha All Along, and Best Adventure was Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Best Animated was Star Wars The Bad Batch, which I was delighted to see. And I'm not gonna read all of them, but intrigue you to go check out the whole list. There's also a category called Home Entertainment, which I don't know what this is. I mean, some of it I do know, because it's like home media release, like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and and/or the complete first season. The other was Best 4K Home Media Release, which was Saw 10, I believe. So this was an interesting list. I recommend folks go check it out. And especially we're going to be talking about our countdown list. Curious to see if anything crossed over with ours.
Saw 10. I haven't even seen Saw 1. I'm glad that Rosario Dawson got a nod for her work as Ahsoka in the Star Wars Ahsoka series. That's great for Best Actress in a TV series. The Bad Batch getting animated. That's awesome. I am so happy that Fallout won Best Science Fiction Series. That really deserved it. At first, when I was reading this article that we have linked here, the formatting is really bad. And I was looking at it thinking House of the Dragon won Best Science Fiction. I'm like, what? But it's Best Fantasy. But Fallout won Best Science Fiction, so that's amazing. And Agatha all along, I mean, there aren't a lot of superhero TV shows on, so I'm not saying it didn't deserve it. It was a good show, but I was just reminded that there weren't that many on last year. So it's a very cool list. I've always enjoyed reading through the Saturn Awards, and I've always thought that they, amongst all the I wouldn't say big award shows because they're not one of the bigs. They're not the Emmys or the Oscars, or the Tonys or anything like that. But they are bigger than your average website, right? They're reputable. They're respected. I've always enjoyed the fact that they actually seem to award the winners based on merit. I mean, if they're a good show, as opposed to which one's popular or which one's, got people that everybody else likes in the industry or something. They always reward the best shows or the best movies. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, Brent, what you're saying there, that's always been my thought too. Unlike things like Oscars and some other things where they're like, they want to, position something to be seen as the best, even if it isn't the best. But these awards do tend to do that. And I agree. As Wendy said with the winners, every single one of them, I didn't have an argument with or go, what? How could that thing have won? Excellent choices across the board, and also a great reminder that there's some just top-notch entertainment in our genre areas. That stuff that really sticks, that really gets people to watch, even from outside genre fans. So great to see.
Excellent. All right. Well, I'm going to wrap up with a bit of casting news here, at least the articles and the headlines. If you are sensitive to casting news for Neuromancer, that series coming to Apple TV, then skip forward a couple minutes. But Neuromancer has announced that Mark Strong, who has appeared in such shows as Dune Prophecy, The Penguin, he's been in Dark Crystal Age of Resistance, he's been in Kingsman, the Kingsman franchise, the movies, Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, 1917, those movies. So he's done a lot of stuff. But he's going to appear in the new Neuromancer series on Apple TV. He's going to be playing a character called Armitage. I'm not familiar with this universe, this IP at all. But apparently this show is about a damaged, top-rung super hacker who is thrust into a web of digital espionage and high stakes with a partner who's an assassin, and they're trying to pull a heist on a corporate dynasty with untold secrets. So sounds like it's one of those futuristic, but basically kind of crime drama sort of procedural. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but interesting for sure.
Yeah, from what we talked about previously, I mean, the show has got some potential to be interesting depending upon what they put on screen, and certainly a name good to see in terms of them starting to, let us know about some of the folks who will be involved. So good to see.
Yeah, I like Mark Strong. He's a very good actor. He plays an important character in Dune Prophecy. So I'll be curious. Hopefully he can balance all of his responsibilities across those shows. I did read Neuromancer back in, I don't know, I guess it was like the late 80s, something like that. It's definitely got it's cyberpunk. It's attributed as sort of the birth of cyberpunk. I'll be curious how that shows up on screen, because we've certainly seen a lot of things on screen that are, of that kind already. So I'll be curious to see if it's how they make it a fresh take on something that inspired so many others.
All right. Well, that's it for the news and headlines. But before we get to the Tuner Minute, Kevin has our genre shows of 2024. We call it the show off. He has the results. Kevin?
Yes. And these are also on Discord. For those, another plug for why to go there to see the full list and some of the voting notes from folks as we went through it. And the thing that I always find interesting, and kudos to Brent for organizing this and getting the polls up and all that. So it doesn't happen without help, his hard work. And it's definitely happened this year as you look at some of the results, is that, there were voting sets where sometimes there'd be like 3 shows I wanted to vote for that I thought were well deserved in a set. And then the next set wouldn't even have one that I really enjoyed. So that always impacts then where the show is going to end up in the list, rather than just giving us 40 shows or whatever it is, and then, picking a top couple, in which will then create more of a result set that I think is more true to some of that. This creates more fun having to vote in the category, in the character or the sets there. So, some of the shows at the top, no big surprise to me. A couple of shows that I thought might be higher weren't there, which again, I think they were up against other similarly good shows, which is what caused them to bump down a bit. So that's always, part of what you look at and interact with. Little disappointed Arcane was only 12th, but glad Resident Alien was just ahead of it at 11. That's, a show underrated, I think, in terms of how good it really became in the most recent season. But much like with the Saturn Awards, some of the same names are at the top here, which is great to see. So those of you voting, looks like you can line yourselves very much with the Saturn Award results as well.
Yeah, this is always fun, and thank you, Brent, for putting it together, because I'm just a happy voter, and Brent is doing all the work to get things organized and set up all the polls and stuff, so thank you for doing that. Fallout came in at number 1, so that was perfectly lined up with the Saturn Awards. And Agatha All Along came in number 2. I liked seeing Lower Decks so high. I was surprised Discovery wasn't comparably high. But also, at least the top 10, 12 are definitely shows that for me were highlights. I might quibble about the order. I was delighted to see Evil on this list, because it's not a show that a lot of people talk about, but every time I turn somebody on to watching it, they're like, we love that show. Quantum Leap was, quite a gem for me, and, knowing it's not going to be around again, it was nice to see that on the list, as well as Snowpiercer.
Yeah, and Dead Boy Detectives, which unfortunately ended too soon, is represented at number 19, which is kind of cool. Damsel, I love that movie. Some people didn't, but a lot of people did, apparently, and it came in at number 20, rounding out our top 20. I was surprised by a number of results. Lower Decks being that high was a surprise to me. I did really thoroughly enjoy that show, but I figured since it's an animated show, it probably didn't have a chance to be in the top 10, but sure enough, it got to number 3, which was amazing. There's no surprise that Doctor Who's in the top 5, and I was surprised to see Silo. Now, not that it's not a good show. I haven't seen it yet. I've been hearing really good things about it, but I was surprised that so many people had seen it and voted for it to get it up to number 6. That was pretty cool. Percy Jackson, I was surprised. I enjoyed the show. We all enjoyed the show, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. I just didn't think there were enough fans of it to get it up there. And I was a little surprised Arcane came in so low. I'm kind of with Kevin. I thought Arcane would have been a little higher, but our poll of asking people about Arcane and seeing so many people who hadn't watched it yet kind of might indicate why. There is a good chunk of people on our Discord who haven't yet seen that show, and I don't know why, but there are some that haven't seen it. But yeah, Discovery coming in at 16, whereas Lower Decks is at 3, was a big shock to me. So it's a cool list. There are a lot of ties after 20, and the full list will be on Discord, like Kevin said, and you can go check out the whole list of all the shows. We tried to capture almost all of the genre, which would be science fiction, fantasy, and horror, television programming or streaming programming that was on in 2024, that first aired in 2024. So you'll see a big, long list of stuff there. If there's anything missing, hey, well, let us know. And, we'll be sure to, if that show continues next year, catch it in the next one.
I think maybe for me, one of the bigger surprises too. I mean, Percy Jackson, great point. That was such a nice, pleasant surprise for me, and I know many others. I was a little surprised in a good way that Three Body Problem actually came in at 9. Now that's not an action-packed show, and I know there's a lot of folks who are a little too slow for me kind of approach, but I mean, it's still very strong science fiction and based on some properties that folks are well aware of. So I was glad to see that sneak into the top 10 for sure.
Yes, and thank you everyone who voted.
Yeah, that was the fun every time of seeing what like I said, what the pairings were, and then seeing a lot of comments on Discord about, ooh, this is hard. And then, as Brent always does a good job reminding us, wanting to vote for multiples, but then realizing when you do that, you diminish that vote. So always the tough balance.
I got a real chuckle out of the discussions around these polls. There was one particular poll that went up, and people were saying, "Who voted for that show?" And then other people were like, "I didn't vote for it. Who voted for it?" And nobody would speak up, but it was funny. All right, well, we're going to round out the Tuner Minute now We're going to round out the water cooler with a Tuner Minute. This one was recorded by Kevin, and it's entitled Ad Choices.
For today's Tuner Minute, we're going to revisit a topic that I covered going back almost 3 years, and that's the idea of ad-supported levels for the different streaming services, and whether, for budgetary reasons, you choose to sign up for some services at those levels if you don't have the finances to be able to just go ad-free across all of the services you have. As we know, certainly in the last few years, we've gotten even more streaming services. The costs are going up on all of them. So if you're like me and like many others, whereby you have to choose to be budget conscious and maybe choose an ad level, how do you decide which of the services you might get on that level? Does it have to do with maybe how much more you can save? Is it maybe certain shows on that service that you just really don't want to put up with ads because you enjoy them so much? Or maybe a certain service just has a reputation for having way more ads at their service than in others.
Aha, we had kind of touched on some of this last time we talked. The ad behavior is definitely a factor. If a show is just repeating the same ad over and over in one episode, that just annoys me a lot, even if maybe on balance there was fewer ads across the whole episode. So, how the ads are operating. Some streamers have ads only at the beginning. Hulu and Peacock have them intermixed, but they also tell you, it's ad 0 of 2. So you kind of have a heads up on what you're getting so that I can get up and do something basically and ignore the ad most of the time. So that's definitely a factor, but honestly, the most deciding factor is what the monthly cost is, because I'm trying to balance out, my budget worth against what I'm getting for that month in terms of, the volume of shows, how much that channel is the one I go to versus others. So it's kind of a combination of factors, and I'm about to get ready to do this again because I'm going to kind of belt tighten a little bit and cut some more. So I'm basically going to go to maybe having only 2 streams a month. And right now, the ads is a factor, but honestly, it's the content and which one I'm watching most, even more so than the ad tier for me.
This answer is super simple for me, Kevin, and I was reminded of it this morning when I was catching up on Invincible. But and it's not the cost. It's not that I'm rich or anything, but my wife and I, our only real form of entertainment is the streaming services that we subscribe to. So we're willing to pay for whatever we need to be entertained, right? We don't go to the movies, we don't rent movies or things like that. So just what we have on, the biggies, Netflix and Paramount Plus and stuff and all that. Amazon Prime. That's our entertainment. So we're willing to spend what we need to spend. But the question for what ad tier to go to, for me, it's threshold of annoyance. Really, I was watching Invincible and I was so tempted. Invincible has, in a given 45-minute episode or whatever, like 4 ad breaks, and they're marked. You know when they're coming. And like Wendy said, Amazon Prime does say add 1 of 2, add 2 of 2, whatever, and give you a little timer. So at least you're aware of how much long you have to wait. But man, it was annoying sitting there just trying to watch those episodes to get caught up for our podcast today, and have to wait through ads, and they pop up a little button that says "Go ad free," and I was so tempted to click that button. I didn't yet, because it hasn't quite pushed to that threshold of annoyance that makes me want to do it. But as soon as it does, as soon as it really ticks me off, I'm going to click that button probably and go up to the next level at Amazon Prime. But that's really what it is. It's so simple for me. It's just how annoying are the ads. If I can sit through them and it's not annoying, then I'll just sit through the ad tier. But if or the tier, let me rephrase that. I don't subscribe to any ad tier at all for anything I pay for right now. It's all quote unquote ad free, or at least it was when I signed up. So as long as it's still not annoying me to the point where I want to go up to the next level, I'll stay where I am. But as soon as it does that, I mean, that's it. It's not cost really with me. It's not, the quality of the ads, although I'm with Wendy. If it's the same ad over and over again, it would probably drive me insane. And fortunately, when I'm watching on my computer, I can just click the little button at the top of the web browser on the tab and just mute the tab so I don't have to hear the thing. But yeah, it's annoyance, Kevin. It's all about annoyance.
Yeah, and I get that because that's really, and it's interesting too when I look at the scope of the services, how they're each doing it a little differently. Like you said, I mean, Amazon Prime, you always, when you had it, there weren't any commercials. Commercials are new and they make you pay more. Not that the other services don't, but it's not like you choose an ad level. So that's the same thing. Once it gets to that annoyance point, do you want to shell out the other, I don't know what it is now, $8 or $10 a month not to have those? But it's varying degrees because, for example, I'm on the ad level with Netflix, and to their credit, ads are minimal. Their breaks are shorter and there's less of them. Now, as we all know, because I think we talked about it last podcast, they also take away some content that's not available at all at the ad level. So I guess that's their way to balance it. But so far, I've been fine and don't get annoyed there. Now, for me, the exact opposite is Hulu. In my case, I got Hulu included with a Spotify subscription. I didn't sign up for Hulu separately. It just came with the Spotify, which I do use regularly and is well worth the subscription there. So it's almost like I got Hulu for nothing, or I would have gotten it extra. But man, is Hulu annoying as all get out, not only with number of ads, length of the ads, and like Wendy and Brent just said, duplication of the same ad. So if I go to watch something on Hulu, and there are a couple of shows I'm watching there now and an occasional movie, I'm already rolling my eyes before we start, like Wendy said, maybe I line up, that's when I'm going to run to the kitchen to get that drink, or maybe it's time to check social media because I'm going to have a couple of minutes where it's going to bother me. But, and some of the other ones are anything in between. Tubi isn't a paid service, but to their credit, my experience with Tubi when watching movies especially, they don't tend to have as many shows. It's not bad. You get an ad or two at the beginning and then maybe one break in there with their stuff. So they're doing a pretty good job, at least, of keeping the content almost ad-free, even though it's a completely free service. But yeah, everything else is kind of in there. And, I guess for me too, Wendy talked about maybe slimming down the number of services. I know there's stuff on Apple Plus, a bunch of shows I want to try out. So I'm probably going to have to drop one for a little while when I do pick up the Apple Plus for that very reason, just to keep my dollars about the same, but being more selective on when I watch that content. So it's an interesting approach, and that's why I'd be curious, folks, if you've got another approach or you line up with what maybe one of the three of us are doing, let us know. Yeah,
I would love to hear folks' strategies as well, because I'm always looking for tips and tricks on this stuff. Apple, their ads don't bother me that much because they're at the beginning. There might be one in the middle, but I don't even really, if there is, I don't notice them as much. It's kind of similar to Netflix, as you said. Hulu, definitely very, very noticeable and annoying.
I sense a Discord poll coming our way, Kevin. And maybe the poll discussion will have a lot of chatting about that.
Yeah, that might be a good companion, Brent. Well thought out.
Yep, it's a great idea.
All right. Well, let us know on Discord, or you can send us a voicemail if you really want to, or send us an email at feedback at tuningintosci-fi-tv.com. But that's it for the Tuner Minute. That's it for the water cooler. Let's head on over now to the spoiler-filled back porch. Today we talk about the Wheel of Time, The Good Place, Paradise, and The Gorge. First up, Kevin's going to tell us about some rewatches he's doing.
Yes, I thought it'd be fun to kind of mention a couple I have going on and appreciate when folks certainly on our Discord occasionally let us know when they're rewatching shows, since there aren't a ton of currently airing ones I'm watching. But as we talked earlier in the show, with the Wheel of Time Season 3 coming soon and getting the full trailer, I'm doing a rewatch of Seasons 1 and 2 to try to be as up to speed as possible with a show that's got a ton of characters and things happening. So I've been enjoying that. This is definitely a show where you really need to be paying attention. Small details, small things happen. And I think, as I've mentioned before, if you are someone doing a rewatch, let me know. There's an outstanding channel called Unraveling the Pattern, I believe it is, on YouTube, that does excellent like debriefs or breakdowns of the episodes, lots of insights for those of us who aren't book readers without being spoilery. So it's nice to have that, DVD extras kind of level of being able to do a rewatch and get some additional info in there. So I'm early in Season 2, planning to obviously be finished before Season 3 drops. So that's been something I've been enjoying quite a bit there. And also I was doing another, goodness, this is my come in the show I do a lot of rewatches of, and that's The Good Place. Yeah, I had recommended it to a friend maybe a couple of months back, I think it was. They were kind of looking for something to watch, to enjoy, a little genre stuff, and, they weren't mentally at the best place either. And I said, it sounds like The Good Place would be the perfect thing to hit you with. And they gobbled it up in a few weeks' time and just couldn't stop telling me how much they really enjoyed it. And it just reminded me, like, yeah, it's the dead of winter. Things haven't been going great for me in a lot of areas. So I started my rewatch of The Good Place just kind of offhandedly without even a plan. And I think I'm about halfway through Season 2. And boy, this show just holds up. The jokes are still funny like the fifth time around. The characters are just so engaging, and it's so amazing to watch what's happening. And just really appreciate the writing in this show in terms of how they set this up, and have been pulling it off too. So just a couple of rewatches I thought I'd mention because they've been very much filling up a lot of my time.
Yeah, The Good Place was a really good show. I'm glad to hear it holds up. I haven't gone back to watch that. The Wheel of Time, though, is on my list because of Season 3 or Season 2, whatever season's coming. Sorry, I can't remember. But I am probably going to at least rewatch maybe the last 2 episodes to just kind of set the table for me going back into the new season. I like to do that.
They're both good shows. Good Place is amazing. I haven't rewatched either one of these yet, but The Good Place, is really funny, like you said, Kevin, from my memory, and I can remember it pretty clearly. And of course, Janet is the best character on that show, as always. The Wheel of Time, I might have to rewatch that because I again, with these shows that are off the air for so long between seasons, I'm not sure I remember everything that happened. In fact, I was in my head as you were talking, I was remembering some events, and then it dawned on me after I finished, as I was remembering those events, like, wait a minute, no, that's The Witcher. I've confused them. So maybe I need to go back to watch Wheel of Time again.
That one's a way long time ago.
Yeah. So yeah, good choices for the rewatches, and maybe it's something that good Place. I don't know if I'll have time to do, but The Wheel of Time I should at least skim through for sure.
I'll take and share. I'll put it on the Discord. Another plug for Discord, folks. Because a friend who is a fellow podcaster, but also a Wheel of Time fan, but has just been so busy, isn't going to have time to watch. 16 episodes. 8 in Season 1, 8 in Season 2, I think it is. Because they're close to an hour or more each. Was looking for some recaps, so I found a good Season 1 and a good Season 2 recap, good meaty ones for Wheel of Time. So I'll post them on the Discord if either of you or any of the listeners want to check them out.
Thanks. Very helpful.
Yeah. Be good. All right. Well, there's another catch-up happening in our group, and it's Wendy talking about Paradise.
Yeah, you guys had both jumped onto Paradise right away, and I was hesitant because when I saw the trailer, I was like, this doesn't look very genre. It looked interesting, great cast. So I did go back, and as luck would have it, I was sitting far enough away from the TV. The first episode I watched was not the pilot. It was actually episode 4, which turned out to be a good thing because I got very sucked right into the story. And after I realized probably about 20 minutes into it, it's like, this is not the first episode that I went back and did watch from the beginning. And I was glad that I did. This is definitely not, I would say super genre-y. And myself, I had to very quickly set aside all thoughts about how gravity works in large underground spaces and just the challenge of building this city that they've done. But the story is very much, to me, a murder mystery, fantastic characters and great cast. The J.K. Sterling character is really a very compelling sort of central fulcrum for a lot of other really interesting characters. So I'm very interested in the show, but honestly, it's not because it's very genre. It's more about, kind of what the characters are going to do more than anything.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, look at Blade Runner. That's a thriller mystery set in a futuristic city. It's kind of the same here, where it's set in this post-apocalyptic sort of underground city. Yeah, I jumped on for Paradise for the first few episodes, and then I jumped right off. So I've been waiting to hear what you guys are going to say, and I guess I'll wait till the season ends and you guys tell me about it, but it was just too slow for me. Yeah, it's a great thriller, mystery, and all that stuff, but that's not my cup of tea. That's not what I love. So that combined with not really attaching to any of the characters and how slow it was going, I had to jump off. So hopefully it is worthwhile at the end of the season so that I can maybe skim through and get caught up.
Yeah, as you said, Wendy, you've got to be watching it not for the genre stuff. There's a little bit there, and sure, it's interesting, but yeah, you got to be into that murder mystery, or just enjoying a drama side of it, because you're absolutely right, Brent. I mean, it's not going to have you oohing and ahhing with all the cool stuff that's going to see, certainly through the first 5 episodes. Who knows? They might try to cram a lot. I think it's got 3 more. I think it's a total 8. But they've done enough to at least have me, like you, Wendy, interested. I'm now curious what some of this stuff is going to be and what's going to happen to some of these characters. I got to say, being spoilery for what's aired, that twist with Billy Pace and him meeting his demise caught me completely off guard. So, they've done a good job there, dropping little things in the episodes to create that situation. The whole idea that, having people be able to go to the surface and actually finding that, yeah, it is possible that some folks survived, but hey, we can't tell everybody that because there's just going to be a total panic. And then, that whole decision of if you're in charge of a scenario like this, you want people to have hope, but you don't want them to have false hope. So, it's got a few things that are keeping me there.
Yeah, there's that I wasn't surprised at that twist, although the first episode that I watched was that episode. So I was like, oh, this is interesting. But I knew J.K. Sterling was the main character from the trailers, so it didn't really surprise me. But his character was actually part of the reason why I was hooked on the story. So Brent, I don't know, maybe don't go all the way back to episode 1. If you do jump on, maybe start in 3. Because one of the things that the show does is a lot of flashbacks on the characters, which it fills in gaps, but a lot of the, frankly, I didn't need to sort of know the character motivations for some things. The main thing though is really wondering about how Sinatra got where she is, more than anything, and what will happen with that character. And also how quickly this story will unfold, because I could see it, being a one and done kind of a story, potentially. At least for this primary mystery.
I may not have been clear, but I did see the first 3 episodes, Wendy. It just bored me and I didn't didn't get hooked, so I just
Sure.
I just turned it off.
Sure.
I just got out of it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's interesting your mention of the flashbacks, because it seems like the last couple of episodes they've had, I don't know if it's more of them or just longer flashbacks. And to me, that started to give me a vibe like Lost, where in Lost, at least for me, some of those flashbacks were interesting. If I liked the character or I truly wanted to know more about them, And some were definitely hit the fast forward button at those times. So I'm curious if they're going to keep that up, because it's been kind of hit or miss for me on some of those flashbacks. Some of them, yes, it's been good to know more. Some, yeah, I really don't care. So I'm wondering how they're going to balance that.
Yeah, for me, the flashbacks have also been sort of hit or miss.
And that's the other thing that I disliked a lot about the first 3 episodes, and I dislike in general about storytelling, is people who rely on flashbacks. If you guys remember, if you're a longtime listener to the podcast, back in Arrow, season 1 and even season 2, that's the thing that I complained about the most, was anybody who tries to tell a story and they depend upon flashbacks to tell a story, you're doing it wrong. Please stop doing that. It's a horrible device. Just tell a linear story. If you need a character to talk about something that happened in the past, great. If you need an occasional little flashback, great. But if you use big flashbacks all the time, you're doing the storytelling wrong, and it drives me nuts. That's another reason I dropped the show, I think.
Yeah, and Brent, to your point, I think if I had just started with episode 1, I would have been like, this is too slow, too boring. Okay. Because episode 4 actually paid off some of the resolution. So that was why I would only recommend starting maybe on episode 3 or 4.
Okay, I'll wait till it's over and let you guys tell me if it gets better.
Yeah, I mean, but if you didn't latch on to any of the characters, I'm guessing you won't. Yeah. You just won't.
Well, I was also biased against latching onto any of them because of the things I hated, the slowness and the flashbacks. They all immediately turned me off to the show, so I didn't care about the characters at that point. That's probably why.
Aha. That could be a tune a minute right there.
And also, it sits in the back of my mind, too, because once we do get the end of this season, it won't be so much if it gets better or maybe has more genre hook. If it continues to be of that style of a lot of flashback stuff, at least to me, that's going to tell me, probably not a Brent show.
Yeah. All right. Well, Wendy's got some news on something that we've talked about before on the podcast, an Apple TV Plus movie called The Gorge. I am really excited to see what she has to say about it, because the trailer for this really impressed me. So, Wendy, what do you think?
So, this was a very interesting movie. So from the trailer, you know that there's a person on either side of this gorge. You have no idea where in the world it is. The folks who are in the watchtowers, they serve a 1-year assignment, and their job is to make sure that nothing comes out of the gorge. And we saw in the trailer that these 2 watchers, break the rules right from the jump. They start communicating with each other. You can tell from the trailer, one of them goes in, the other one follows them in, and you go into the gorge. And in the trailer, they imply that it's hell. It's not hell like you would think of in Lucifer terms. It's a mystery what it is. It's not supernatural, but it is science fiction. And I found it very entertaining. I really liked the 2 watchers themselves. They had a great chemistry, and there's a romance that bubbles up between them. It's pure action pretty much all the way. That trailer that you saw, that all happens very rapidly it's a movie. It's not a TV series. And, overall, I found it very interesting, and entertaining. I wouldn't give it like a watch it now, but I'd give it a high watch it soon to a low watch it now. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I need. It sounds like something I want to see as soon as I can. But we were talking in Paradise about characters, and it's amazing. That trailer for The Gorge, I latched onto those 2, watcher characters immediately. They were like 2 interesting characters, and I wanted to see what happened. And yeah, you could kind of pick up on the fact that they might do a romance sort of thing between them, given that it was a movie and you have a lead male, lead female. They almost always do that anyway. So, but I'm excited to see it now. If I can figure out how to see it without spending a lot more money on Apple TV.
Yeah, that's good to hear, Wendy. Thank you. Because this is one, as we talked about, the trailer looked good. I saw think it was Facebook or somewhere on social media, someone that I follow, not a close friend, but someone who watches a good amount of movies and posts written reviews. And they had a review for The Gorge and kind of summarized it very similar to you that, they do a good job of hooking you in. They've got some characters you can latch onto right away. And then we got a little interesting story twist here or there that, overall entertaining. So this is just another one now that's got, me wanting to get into the Apple TV Plus at some point soon so that I can get a chance to see it.
Yeah, so the good news is if you're a person that, either you let yours lapse like Kevin did and you're going back in, the good news is there's a library of stuff there when you get there. So it's worth it. It's not just going for, 2 or 3 shows. You'll find plenty of entertainment.
And for those curious, what'll get me to sign up for Apple TV, I think I've mentioned this before, is if my wife finds some show on there she wants, she'll say, "Give me that." And so I get it for her. And then I'll have it.
What is it? Up to like $10 a month now for Apple TV Plus, if I recall? I'll have to double check it. I know it used to be
$8.99.
Is it? Okay.
I don't know.
I remember for a while.
I did mine as an annual, so that's why I don't know.
How much for the ad free though?
Yeah, mine's not ad free.
There we go. Now we're going to bring our 2-minute into it.
But like I said, their ads are not annoying. For the most part, they're ads for their other shows.
Right.
I do remember that. Yeah, when I was watching Monarch, that's what they would do. And that's what I'm kind of hoping is that we might get some news, although it's still probably a ways away, of Monarch and when it might be coming back, because that's what I'll probably do is very much bookend signing up early, knowing Monarch's coming, or letting it run after Monarch's aired to watch some of this other content. Or seeing if there's ever a really good deal. I don't recall. Some of the other services will do, discounts or promotions. Apple TV doesn't tend to do that with any of their stuff, so I guess we'll wait to see.
All right. Wait and see is a good thing to do, I guess. But that's going to wrap it up for this podcast, folks. I want to thank Kevin and Winnie for being here and all of you for listening. Be sure to check out our Discord. Look for the full list of the winners of the Show Off 2024. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you next time.
Take care, everybody.
We'll see you soon. Have a great week.
If you'd like to contact us here at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, we offer a wide variety of feedback options, including email at feedback@tuningintoscifitv.com, our voicemail at 706-927-8478, on Skype voicemail at Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, or you can visit our website at tuningintoscifitv.com to find the link to our forums or to use the SpeakPipe widget to leave us a voice message. You can also find us on Twitter at twitter.com/tuningintoscifi or on Facebook at facebook.com/tuningintoscifitv.
The theme music for Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV is by Beatnik Turtle, used with permission. You've been listening to Tuning Into Sci-Fi TV, episode 667, recorded February 16th, 2025.